Have you ever noticed how motivation feels incredibly strong at certain moments, usually late at night or right after watching an inspiring video, and you genuinely believe that this time things will change? You promise yourself to wake up early, to work harder, to stay disciplined, and to finally chase your goals seriously. But then the next morning arrives, and that powerful motivation is nowhere to be found. Suddenly you feel tired, distracted, and uninterested. This experience is so common that most people assume something is wrong with them. But the truth is, nothing is wrong with you. The real problem is that we misunderstand what motivation actually is and how it works. Motivation is often treated as if it were a permanent fuel source, something that should stay with us once we find it. In reality, motivation is just an emotion, and emotions are temporary by nature. Just like happiness, excitement, or anger, motivation comes and goes. Expecting motivation to stay forever is like expecting the weather to remain sunny every day. When people lose motivation, they think they have failed, but losing motivation is actually normal. The mistake is building your entire progress around something that was never designed to last. Most motivation begins with emotion. It can come from inspiration, guilt, fear, or excitement. Watching someone succeed, imagining a better future, or feeling ashamed of wasting time can create a strong emotional push. That push feels powerful, but it doesn't last long because emotion fades. Once the emotional high disappears, the work starts to feel boring, difficult, and slow. When effort no longer feels exciting, motivation dies. This is why motivation alone can never sustain long-term progress. Emotion can start the journey, but it cannot carry you through it. Another major reason motivation fades is our obsession with fast results. We live in a world where everything happens instantly. Entertainment, validation, shopping, and information are all available within seconds. This conditions our brain to expect quick rewards. But real progress in life doesn't work that way. Growth is slow, repetitive, and often invisible at the beginning. When people don't see immediate results, their brain assumes the effort is useless and signals them to stop. Motivation disappears not because the work is ineffective, but because patience is missing. There is also a biological reason behind the loss of motivation. The human brain is not designed to make us successful. It is designed to keep us safe and comfortable. Any activity that involves effort, discomfort, uncertainty, or pain is interpreted by the brain as a potential threat. When you try to wake up early, work out, study, or push yourself mentally, your brain resists. It creates excuses, laziness, and doubt. This resistance is often mistaken for a lack of motivation, but it is simply your brain trying to protect you from discomfort. Many people also confuse motivation with discipline. Motivation is based on feeling, while discipline is based on commitment. Motivation says you will act when you feel ready. Discipline says you will act regardless of how you feel. The truth is, successful people are not always motivated. They simply don't rely on motivation to decide whether they show up or not. They work on days when they feel inspired and on days when they feel empty. Motivation might get you started, but discipline is what keeps you moving forward when motivation disappears. Another silent motivation killer is trying to do too much at once. People often overload themselves with goals. They want to transform every area of their life at the same time, expecting massive change overnight. This overwhelms the brain. When goals feel too big or unclear, the mind chooses avoidance. Doing nothing feels safer than doing something imperfect. Motivation fades not because the desire to succeed is gone, but because the path feels too heavy to carry. External motivation is another trap. Motivational videos, quotes, and speeches can be powerful, but their effect is temporary. They work like a quick energy boost, not a long-term solution. When people depend on external motivation, they feel lost when it's not available. True consistency comes from internal reasons, from understanding why something matters personally, not just emotionally. Without a strong internal why, motivation will always feel unstable. Fear also plays a hidden role in killing motivation. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of wasting effort can quietly shut down action. Sometimes what we call a lack of motivation is actually fear in disguise. The mind chooses not to try as a way to avoid disappointment. If you don't try, you can't fail. This protective mechanism keeps people stuck while making them believe they simply lack motivation. One of the most powerful reasons motivation doesn't last is the absence of identity. People who struggle say they are trying to change. People who succeed believe they are the kind of person who shows up. When actions are tied to identity, motivation becomes less important. You don't need motivation to do things that feel like part of who you are. When discipline becomes identity, consistency becomes natural. The solution is not to chase motivation, but to design your life in a way that doesn't depend on it. Lower your starting point, focus on small actions, and build systems that work even on bad days. Accept that boredom is part of growth and that progress often feels unexciting. Instead of waiting to feel motivated, commit to showing up consistently. Over time, action creates confidence, and confidence creates its own form of motivation. In the end, motivation is just a spark. It is not the fire that keeps you warm. If you wait for motivation to stay, you will always start and stop. Real change begins when you stop asking how to stay motivated and start asking how to stay consistent. Because you don't rise to the level of your motivation, you fall to the level of your habits. And the moment you learn to act without motivation is the moment your life truly begins to change.